Hey everyone, it's Alexis, the artistic director and founder of the Mechanical Cedar Company, and also executive producer of our much beloved, scary web series, Quarantine Horror Story, that's been running throughout the summer. I am so excited today. We've been doing these interviews with the cast and crew over the last couple of weeks, but I'm so excited to be sitting down with Laura Yumi Snell, who has been a huge piece of this production, but also an incredible friend to the Mechanicals. And so, Laura, welcome today. Great to see
Thanks.
you. Do you want to
Thank you,
talk
Alexis.
about yourself?
Yeah, so thank you for the wonderful introduction. I've been so grateful to have a wonderful partnership and friendship with the Mechanicals and with Alexis and the whole creative, amazing team of Quarantine Horror Story. So right before COVID, we were supposed to collaborate together
Yeah.
and in April with this really awesome socio-political theatrical event called The Lady Doth Protest. And of
Yeah.
course, everything got shut down. So I'm just so happy we still get to work together, even though we are sitting at home in
Yeah.
front of computers all day.
Same. I mean, it's been, Laura, it's really been amazing to work with you and
Mhm.
Soho Shakes and what you all have been able to do in just 2 years, right? Your company's been around
Yeah,
for 2 years.
yeah, 2 years. We started early 2018, and I feel like because of quarantine, we just like sped up our season and the activities within our company. So it feels like since March, we've gone through like 5 seasons. Like it's so crazy
Yeah.
because of quarantine, we were able to like jumpstart so many different programs that we were thinking about and mulling over.
Yeah.
But yeah, just we were one of the lucky ones that got to take advantage of this very strange situation and do something good out of it. So
It's been incredible what you all have done. Just for context for everyone who's watching this, so Laura's the executive director of Soho Shakes, and you can find them. What's your website, Laura?
it's sohoshakes.com.
So sohoshakes.com, and
Yeah.
we actually met in person, if you can believe it, a year and a half ago. Laura and her company were putting on a production called The Sisters at the Latea in Lower Manhattan, and we were doing As You Like It at the same time. So The Sisters is based on Macbeth, and As You Like It is another Shakespearean play, obviously. And we were instant friendship. We've become kind of unofficial sister companies for the last year and a half. And I think so much of what really drew me to you all, Laura, is not only do you do incredible artistic work, which is, the name of the game, but you do it with such a heart and a commitment to inclusion and equity and making a social message. And that's what we're really all about at the Mechanicals too. And so it's been a pleasure to see what you all have done, and also a ton of innovation you've done around COVID. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. I mean, one thing we've been talking about in all these calls is how do you create theater and art during a period of time where you can't be in person? I mean, for those of us who've been doing theater for many years, and I know you have, and you've been training as an actor and a director, but not having that direct audience interaction, not be able to have the rehearsal space, all those things have been really tough. But I think it's been an interesting time to see how creativity has emerged from the artistic community, and also a lot of solidarity with all these the political movements that we see going on right now, and the for equity and justice, whether it's Black Lives Matter or mobilizing around elections. Talk to me a little bit about how you all have approached COVID, and how you've been innovating during this time, and why art has mattered to you. Like why even continue to create art right now?
Absolutely. So I couldn't have done any of this without our wonderful founding artistic director, Alex Pepperman. He's not just a great friend, but also a mentor and just like partner in crime in all the best ways. And so once COVID hit, he and I were speaking and we were like, what do we do? We had all these projects lined up that we have to completely throw away or at least put on hold for a while. And so initially he just is just a generous soul. And he's like, I want to help all my friends. I don't know how, I don't know what it's going to look like, but let's just like keep thinking. And within a few days, he was like, okay, I have a friend who posted that he has all these extra skills he can offer remotely. So why don't we start a database where we connect prospective employers to these amazing artists who have versatile skills? So we started the Social Distance Artists Alliance. And from there, we realized we needed a lot more support. So all of our associate producers and our education team, we sort of would meet semi-regularly before COVID, but because of COVID, we were like, okay, we're going to put this initiative together. How can y'all work together to make this happen? And so our really amazing team put together this database, and then our social media activity went up because of that. And then we were like, okay, we know how to use Zoom now because of all these meetings. Why don't we? And our colleague Brian Capello was like, we want to do some readings. How can we make this happen? And so we started putting together bi-weekly readings of past production scripts that we've put together, and also Shakespeare works and new works that haven't yet been produced. And from there, it just blew up. Like, we have a lot more activity just thanks to that. And we have incredible Broadway veterans who normally would be unavailable, but because they're like, oh, I can do it from our living room, sure, they've been graciously jumping on board. And so we've been able to create theater through Zoom with top-notch performers, and all of our company members behind the scenes and on stage have been just so excited to put together anything during this time. But it's become really great quality stuff because of the passion behind each of these artists. And Antonio Davis, who's one of our associate producers, when the Black Lives Matter movement started to become prominent in June, we turned to him because he's our only Black team member, or he was at the time. And now we have our wonderful Marcus Xavier Stewart, who's joined our team as well. And they've been a longtime performer with our company, but now they have the role of director of outreach. So anyway, we were like, okay, Antonio, what can we do? Because we have this platform. We don't want this to just be a conversation that happens for the month of June and then everybody forgets about Black Lives Matter. And we can already see in the media cycle, things have moved on. So Antonio had the wonderful idea of bringing all of our incredible Black artists, friends, and colleagues together to put on a performance and a review. And we had a dozen incredible performers and artists share their talents with us. And we had a spoken word competition, and we had a young talent join the cast, and incredible celebrity artists like Ted Lange and Jennifer Fouché and Christy Ferris and Hope Giselle, just like amazing people came on board and like, yeah, we want to help. And so we were able to have the show plus a talkback component at the end to figure out what we could do as allies and what the community can do to support all of our Black artists and friends. And we ended up also raising $2,500 for True Colors United, which is an LGBTQ plus organization that helps this community fight homelessness. And so, we found this strong draw to social causes, especially because our mission is to tell stories from unexpected perspectives, and anything that we don't hear about in the mainstream, we feel like we need to create space for those voices to be heard. And so, and I personally love this mission because when I was in 6th grade, I was going to a Japanese school and an American school at the same time. And we learned about World War II at the exact same time. And for some reason, they shared very different, interesting topics. Yeah, I was like, okay, so according to the Americans, Pearl Harbor is the worst thing that ever happened, and the atomic bomb helped end the war. And according to my Japanese textbook, Pearl Harbor was just like a little bit mentioned over here, and then the whole rest of the book was talking about the horrors of nuclear warfare. And I was like, okay, so the exact same events happened, but depending on who's telling the story, we're getting completely different perspectives. So that was kind of an inspiration for us. It's like every story has so many different facets to it, and every human needs to be able to tell that story. So I feel like during quarantine, we're like, this is an incredible opportunity to find those voices that people don't normally hear from, or that we don't normally hear from, and just give them a space to share their talents and their voices.
I love that anecdote, Laura, because I think, I think one thing that many of us who are artists and activists, I'm an activist and organizer in my professional life, as well as an artist, as well with the mechanicals and what I do. But there's such an interwoven compatibility between activists and artists, and the way artists use their art as activism, and the way they show stories and truth through art and expressive ways. And so I think what you all have been able to do, merge those things, and something that we definitely strive for as well, is so powerful, because at the end of the day, we're all storytellers, and we do our acting and our art to share some of the human condition. So I think it's been amazing how you all have innovated and are trying to figure out ways to reinvent yourself and be a part of the spaces that people need right now. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
You're also an incredible performer. Incredible. I will say, Laura has been graced, and we've been having a monthly internal Shakespeare reading to keep all of our company actors afloat, and to keep our spirits up during COVID. And Laura has played many different roles over the course of the last couple of months, which has been so wonderful to see you act. But definitely in Quarantine Horror Story, which, you know, we're very proud of the work of this, and it was a labor of love for Ellen Chaney and Cecilia Furrow and Sarah Zarad and our team. But it's just amazing to see what performance you brought to the table there. Tell me a little bit about your role, and what was it like filming a series on Zoom?
I'm so grateful that you had me come on board, because I never thought we would be able to do something at such a high quality, just sitting in our living rooms, right? So I've got to play the character of Amy, who plays Ellen Chaney's character, Maura's ex-girlfriend. And so I think it's such a real thing, because I obviously have exes that I really love and care about still. And so it's really relatable when you have someone you care about, but you had to part ways for whatever reason. And then COVID hits and you're trying to reconcile, like, okay, how much do I want to reach out? We're the only people we have. So Maura's having her neurotic meltdown or whatever question mark, mysterious, scary thing. And Amy's character wants to help, but because of their history, it's a really complicated relationship and dynamic. And even physically trying to want to be there, but not being able to because of COVID and all that. It was just like very real, I think. And I'm happily in a relationship right now, but it was like a good way for me to remind myself of all the people who might be out in the world stranded, or they just broke up with their loved ones, and then this had to happen on top of it. It's like so traumatizing. And yeah, it was written really well. So I feel like there's love and comedy and humor in all of that, with all the tensions that happened between Maura and Amy.
Yeah, Amy's a fantastic character, and I think one thing that Ellen did really well in her writing throughout this is kind of weaving in like a mental health component to kind of like the isolation that we're probably all feeling a little bit, regardless of pre-existing mental health conditions, combined with the horror element. So you really are tackling so many topics at once. And I think Amy's character really kind of brings to bear a part of the history that we don't totally know about Maura's character and this family, and kind of why we're seeing Maura in this place in space and time. So I thought it was really, really beautifully acted, and loved what we brought to the character. So what is next for Soho Shakes that we should be excited about? And I take a little rest after Black Arts Matter, because that was such an amazing and huge production there.
Thanks, Alexis. So Black Arts Matter is just the first of many installments. So we're planning to do a multicultural arts night in November, and then we'll do Black Arts Matter Part 2 to celebrate Black History Month in February. And we want to do an LGBTQ plus BIPOC artists celebration next June. So we'll be doing a similar form of entertainment and social awareness art activism piece every 4 months or so. But you can stay tuned. In the first reading we'll be doing once we resume our season in September 10th, we have a really cool play called On Hold, what it's like to be on hold in the American healthcare system. So it's a play that was developed by 4 incredible women who all have some sort of, you know, personal story that they wanted to share with the terrors of the American healthcare system. And these characters, in this very like surreal way, have to figure out how to get out of this quagmire of crazy bureaucracy and try to get the help that they need while they're dealing with the human components of all this. I'm personally having to deal with this myself. It's like, wow, the American healthcare system is very crazy. So there'll be, and we'll have panelists there. So Alexis, I wanted to thank you, because it's thanks to your idea of having panelists for Lady Doth Protest that we were able to add that component to all of our reading series. And so we just started with simple talkbacks with the cast after our first few. And then we're like, why don't we bring on some panels who are professionals in their industry? So with On Hold, we have some panelists who are in the healthcare field. And Alexis, hopefully some of your colleagues, if they're available, can
Yes.
jump on as well. Yeah. Um, so that's something I'm really excited about. And then we'll have our rotation of classical piece and contemporary piece for as long as quarantine continues.
Well, excellent. Well, I can't wait to
Good.
see all of that. Thank you, Laura, for just being an amazing
Yeah.
friend and partner and collaborator with us. You can check out sohoshakes.com, themechanicalsnyc.com, and much more to come. And check out the final episode of Quarantine Horror Story next week. All right. Thank you, Laura. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Alexis.